to each other, and tell a little bit about your interest in history, and a little, if you've got some history about yourself, like you do. I'm curious. So.
Well, first of all, who are you, and what's been your involvement?
My name is Richard Kohler. I'm an architect. I've been involved with the Historical Society since 2009.
And George, you created the website, right, from the start. You put this amazing piece together that has all this information that we need to organize, obviously, but you're the author of the website, right?
Yeah, basically when I retired and moved up here in 2001, I started doing my own personal family history and got interested in history for the first time. And then I realized there was a lot of really interesting history about the area here. So when I saw an article in the newspaper that said they had these board meetings downtown, it was in the old courthouse. They were open to the public. I went down and listened to them, and again, they were telling all these great stories about the news.
What year was that,
It
approximately?
would have been 2007. And so I said, hey, why don't you put all that stuff up on a website? Because we didn't have a website, and make it so that everybody has access. Because the thing I noticed is here was this great story, and as soon as it was spoken, it was gone. Some of us may have remembered it, but that was it. And I thought the idea of capturing that would be great. And so
That seems to be the challenge of history. Once it's gone and you don't document it, it's gone.
Elaine Young in her wisdom says, okay, well, why don't you?
Yeah.
And so that was sort of the beginning of it. We fiddled around with Yahoo groups for a little while and realized that was not going to do it. And so again, about 2 years later in a meeting, she says, hey, let's just do a full-blown website. I said, I don't know anything about websites. And they said, you'll figure it out. And so it sort of evolved over the last 15 years that way.
And you have ideas of how to improve it, and we can make things more accessible. And there's all sorts of things that we can do to the website, and we can do it through an organization. And you would be open to being involved in that moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. Basically, we know that there's some major problems just because I didn't know anything when I was starting out. And so things like making it mobile friendly, making it easy to update are two key things that we need to figure out how to do. And the other thing is just capturing as much of this information as we can before it gets lost.
Capturing, collecting, digitizing. I mean, there's so much. So, and thank you for your service, sir. The next beautiful lady that we have here is my mother-in-law, Linda Sjogren, who we lured in from Anchorage, Alaska. And you were what with the Alaskan Journal? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your interest in history.
Well, I was in Alaska for 42 years, and with it being the gold rush, there's still not a lot of history there. And well, we moved here because Ian married my daughter. He decided the winters were too cold. But up there for about 40 years, I was involved in media and publishing and worked for a couple newspapers, actually a bunch of newspapers, and a couple magazines. When I was still working remotely when I moved here for a statewide business magazine and Alaska Contractor magazine. And I also managed all the web ads for as far as uploading them and building them if I needed to. So that's it. But as far as history, I grew up as a child in Ohio, and my dad was an artist, and he painted a lot of historical sites, and especially old ships. So we grew up, we knew more about Ohio history than our teachers did. So I've just always really liked history, and I do have some family ties to this area that I discovered that were part of the some of the first Mormons that they didn't settle in the area, but came down and was ordered by Brigham Young. One of them planted like 1,000 grapevines in Tokerville and sugarcane. And I think the family more or less settled in Brigham City. But I have the journals that this one gentleman had written about 70,000 miles he traveled in for the church, including he was president of the African Cape Town First African Mission for the
That's
LDS
unusual,
Church.
yeah.
Yeah, so so there's so much history here that I'm just when I was still working, I printed out all of the pages of the national places on the National Historic Register, and just kind of use that as a template to start checking into where these homes were and what's in the city. So Ian brought me on board because I like history
And you're so welcome.
Yeah.
So next we have Brad Bennett. Brad, tell us about your background here and your thoughts on the society in general.
Well, so I was born here. My entire family was born here. My immediate family. So my mother is from Hurricane. So we've been around this area for a long time, and we've pretty much seen it grow from a town that was 1 square mile to what it is now. So I guess what bothers me a lot is I see right now today, our history being eroded, especially with the name of Dixie being removed from school, the cancellation of the history of Dixie class at the college, the university. So, that makes me want to get really involved in making sure that I worry about the D on the hill, being under control of the school. They really have no need for it anymore. So I suspect at some point they want to change it to a U or a UT or something of this nature. So these things have to be protected, and and so I think the best way to do that is get involved with a community like this and create awareness in the community and start getting some muscle behind keeping some of these things, protected.
What's your business and how can you help in this regard to protect these things?
Well, like I said, nothing's going to happen if you don't have politicians on your side. So the community has to speak in a loud voice to their representatives, and so you need some sort of platform to get out to the community and deal with the politicians, because without their help, it's not safe.
Then I'm Ian Crow.
Ian, make sure you take just a picture of the view.
It's hard to. The glares. Let me do. Yeah, there we go. It's something. The lighting's not quite what it should be, but we got the old airport over there. Remember living up here and watching planes wobble in with the crosswinds, and it's very close to where the D that Brad mentioned is located. Anyway, I'm just here trying to. I was part of the Historical Society for 4 or 5 years. I don't know.
2013-ish.
No, that's when I ended. That's when I graduated. I was the first graduating class of Dixie State University. So, I went and listened to all the fight when they removed rebels, and they, did what they did, and they defended "We Love Dixie." we want to do all of this, and as facts have come together, and that's part of our history. It hasn't been so honest, and moving forward, I just want to put the right things in the right places. I don't have enough time for all of this, but if we don't all step up and be part of it, we're part of the problem. So anyone that wants to be involved, that cares, anyone that cares about Dixie, cares about our history, if you're not involved, you're part of the problem.